What's going on, you gamers? Today we're going to be jumping back into a little bit more Marvel Midnight Suns. What we're going to be taking a look at will be my top picks for the best 10 cards that you should be looking at in order to make some powerful builds. So if you want to know what the best cards are, then stay tuned. Let's come on next. Welcome back everybody. Today we're jumping back into Midnight Suns. We're going to be looking at some truly powerful cards that can really make your hero shine and your teams even better. Now, as always, if this helps you out, a like would be much appreciated, and if you'd like to become a member of the channel for the latest gaming content, then why not hit that subscribe and bell icon. But for now, we'll be looking into the most powerful abilities in the game that you should be looking out for. So first up, and bar none, the best tank in the game is hands down, in my opinion, Captain America. The only reason that he has this status is for one card, and one card alone, the best defense. This card is an absolute beast. You're going to gain block equal to the damage you deal for 2 turns. This, alongside dig in, alongside shield bounce, and of course just doing a whole bunch of damage, makes him nigh on untouchable. You will still have to watch out for your health or anything that goes through it, and weakness can be a bit of a pain if they manage to affect you with that, but in my opinion no other character has quite as much sustain in their kit, or as well rounded a deck for just out and out survivability. So for that reason, if you're a Captain America fan, best defense is one you'll have to pick up. Also, working hand in hand with Evil Eye Totem means that you can mark an absolute abundance of enemies, allowing you to pick up KOs easy and not lose out on your card plays. Jumping over to my next choice, and we have none other than Doctor Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme. Doctor Strange is an absolutely amazing support in this game, and is one of the best characters you can be using in your teams. However, he has one card in my opinion that stands above the rest, and it's one that at first look you may not think too much of. The card in question is none other than Astral Meditation. Restore 2 combat items used during this mission. It does suffer from exhaust, but ultimately the reason it suffers from exhaust is because of just how powerful it is. You have a lot of combat items in this game that are just as powerful or even more powerful than some of the best cards available, so being able to do this and then carry them over into the next mission makes this card one of the most powerful cards in the game. Jumping straight over to Iron Man, and one card that I think they may be addressing soon. The devs have already said it is a little bit broken. You probably know what I'm talking about, it's Air Superiority. If you like using Iron Man, make sure you chuck 2 of these in the deck, because they can do some significant damage to pretty much everything on the field. There is no doubt in my mind that this will be getting a nerf in the future, as I've seen it hit upwards of 900 damage to pretty much everything on the map. However, even if they do nerf it, I can still see this being one of the most powerful cards in the game for clearing all of the smaller and maybe even the medium sized enemies. Proving once again that Hulk is the strongest there is, this time he's showing it with his legendary card, and that's none other than World Breaker. World Breaker is just truly devastating and an awesome sight to behold. If you want to out and out clear a map, you want to send everything flying, either by knocking them into obstacles, knocking them off of rooftops, or just smashing them into each other, then World Breaker is going to be the one for you. If you can build up his rage and make it so that he does a lot more extra damage, World Breaker will take out pretty much everything in the map. And because of how many enemies it actually hits, it will very often allow you to clear missions in 1 or 2 turns, as long as you play your cards right. Jumping over to Ghost Rider, and we've just come from Hulk's probably best AoE in the game, able to clear an absolute abundance of multiple targets. With Ghost Rider, you are doing the complete opposite. Ghost Rider has Penance Stare, which is bar none the most powerful card in the game for doing direct damage. However, it only affects one enemy, it does consume 50% of his health, but it hits like an absolute monster. And if you manage to buff up Ghost Rider by quite an amount, giving him strengthen, using some other card plays, and of course keeping his health as high as possible, I've seen this completely one-shot bosses on the toughest difficulties, hitting easily upwards of 5,000 damage. If you absolutely want a single target taken off of the map, then Ghost Rider is going to be the character for you, and Penance Stare is going to be the one you're after. Going from some of the hardest hitting abilities in the game, we now go over to Nico and something that's slightly different. The first card we're going to be going over, because I believe Nico actually has two of the best cards in the game, but the first one is going to be Double Up. Double Up is so handy. This card is going to generate a copy of each attack, skill or heroic in your hand. It's selected randomly. That is pretty much Nico's downside, otherwise I think she would be slightly too powerful. But with a bit of luck, if you manage to get the one you're after, you're able to grab yourself a lot of extra cards and do a lot of extra damage and KOs, especially if they're free ones or if they're some of the better heroic ones in the game. However, like I said, I think she actually has two of the best cards in the game. The second one is going to be Empower. Not only now can you double up on your cards and have a lot of fun dishing out extra damage and having a lot more cards in your hand, but now with Empower you're able to draw a heroic card and change the cost of all heroic cards in your hand to 0 until the end of the turn. These two cards together have allowed me to see a lot more legendary cards played each mission, and are just amazing for being able to play cards that you generally wouldn't have been able to because you wouldn't have the heroism available. Now the last three cards I am sure are going to get me in trouble because they're all for the Hunter, and I have played a little bit more with the dark side than any other, but I think it's probably a little bit more powerful than the light in most situations. But I will chuck a couple of light cards in text that you should definitely look out for. Now the first card we're going to be looking at is going to be Last Sight. Even though it's a standard attack card, I think this one covers pretty much all of the bases. It does a fair chunk of damage, but also comes straight away once upgraded with Concealed on KO. This makes it significantly better than a lot of cards in the game. Because the Hunter has a lot in his kit with the dark side, in order to up his damage, you're very often able to do enough in order to get that KO and take yourself out of the battle in order to not be targeted. But if that's not enough and you want something that hits even harder, then you've got this one right here, and that's going to be Wild Strike. Whilst Wild Strike does actually put vulnerable on yourself, meaning you can take an abundance of damage at those later tiers of difficulty, with the right card plays and with the right team around you, then this card in my opinion is one of the strongest attack cards in the game without applying any statuses and such. So for out and out damage, it's definitely worth looking at. We've just how good the Hunter is with his attacks. What kind of skills do we have that can make this even better? And one that I think stands above most of the others is going to be Wrath. Give all of the cards in your hand critical, and all of the cards for the Hunter are going to be critical when drawn for 2 turns. If you're playing this game for long enough, your crit damage can absolutely go through the roof when playing with the Hunter, and this card can enhance the Hunter's deck massively, meaning he can dish out guaranteed critical damage and take out enemies he never would have been able to before. Last but definitely not least, one of my favourite abilities in the game, ridiculously overpowered, and that is Annihilation. This card is completely based off of how much heroism you have in your hand, but there's also some ways around that, meaning sometimes you can change it to 0, you can redraw the card. There's also a suit upgrade for him where he doesn't have to get rid of his exhaust cards, and when you put things like this together, it really starts to make Annihilation shine. Being able to dish out upwards of 2k damage in quite a large area of effect generally tends to mean everything you hit completely falls over and is definitely going to stay there. One of the best looking animations in the game, and for my picking, one of the best cards overall. Well, you gamers, hopefully that's helped a few of you out. As always, for all things gaming, take care, I'll see you on the next day.